Well, hello everyone, it's Kathy again and Rosie Vesperina. This is the final part of the series of videos where we have ridden from home on the Central Coast in North Gosford, which is where I live, up to Newcastle. This ride was actually an idea of my riding friend Fiona's, who wanted to go to AMX, which is a quite a big motorcycle shop up there, to have a look at just some gloves and potentially another jacket, and so we had a chat about doing it, and then she put a post on the Facebook Central Coast Women Riders group. I can't remember the actual name for it, and we got a few people who wanted to come with us, so that was really good. So this section now from Budgewoi up to Newcastle, I can honestly say I have absolutely no idea where I'm going from this point on, which is not really good, is it? But that's why I have the GPS. So you'll recall from the other videos that I left home at around 8 a.m. I went to Wyoming and picked up Marie and her husband Sam. Marie is a learner rider on a lovely blue Vespa Primavera 125. Sam, her husband, I can't quite remember what motorbike he rides, but he is a fully licensed rider. Then we headed up to Greenpoint Shops, which is the usual meeting point where I meet Fee, and she rides a Honda CB125, I think it's called. So we picked up Fee. Then we rode up to North Entrance, just over the bridge to the North Entrance car park there, and picked up Joe and Mia. And Mia is my lovely grandbaby who I did my learners for riding a motorbike. And we both now have our Ps, which is very exciting. And she's also on a Honda CB125. So we've got Joe and Mia now, and then the next stop was to Budgewoi, where we picked up Tanya, who is a fully licensed rider, and Alex, who is also a learner rider. So what's that? We've got 1, 2, 3 fully licensed riders, 2 P-platers, and 3 learner riders, I think. So 1, 2, 3, 8 of us. So that's great. And now we are making our way up to Newcastle. We are doing our best to stay on the coast side, because the M1, which is the main freeway, is 110, and I don't know that Rosie would actually make 110 kilometres an hour, but as a learner and a P-plater we are capped at 90 kilometres an hour. And even though you can absolutely ride on the freeway doing 90 if you stay in the left-hand lane, I don't really want to ride on the freeway on Rosie, so we take the coast road up. I'm following behind Mia, so Joe is in front of us, and I much prefer it when Mia is in front, so I can see where she is and I know that she's safe. One of the things I kind of liken riding to, for me, if I think of other activities that I do, is snow skiing, which probably sounds a little bit weird because it's nothing like it when you kind of think of it on face value. But certainly the amount of gear that you put on before you go for a ride is very similar to snow skiing. So I put on ski pants, I put on riding pants, I put on special boots for skiing, I put on special boots for riding. In winter I wear thermal layers, which I do when I'm skiing, and I have a special ski jacket as well as a ski jacket, yes, for riding, and a ski jacket for skiing and a riding jacket for riding. I also put on gloves for riding as I do for skiing, and I put on a helmet for riding as I do for skiing. I guess the only small difference is I wear goggles when I ski, but I just use a sun visor on the bike. And the equipment obviously is completely different. I use Rosie for skiing, but I have my own skis and poles for skiing. I think the other similarity between skiing and riding is when you have the curves like you can see now, in my head it feels a bit like skiing down a mountain, and you kind of take big sweeping turns when you ski down the mountain, and you're taking big sweeping turns as you're riding along the road. So and I get the same kind of zen feeling when I ski well. I get a really lovely zen feeling, and if I feel like I'm riding well and the curves are nice and gentle and I'm flowing left and right, I get that same kind of zen feeling. And so for me, that's kind of the similarity between skiing and riding that I get. I'm not sure that anybody else would see it that way, but that's how I see it. So here we are riding along the Pacific Highway up to Newcastle. You'll notice plenty of trees on either side. That's the Central Coast. We have a lot of bushland, national parks, or other sorts of government kind of listed areas where they've kept the bushland, and always plenty of lovely hiking tracks within those areas, which I love to do. Hiking is another one of those activities that makes me feel zen, especially when I'm by myself. So as I said before, this is a group ride of 8 people, and so what I've learnt on this group ride is that it's really important to have a bit of a structure about the rides. I think it's important that everybody knows the route or is able to plug it into a GPS of some sort that they can use. In Australia, in New South Wales, on your L's and your P's, you're not able to use your mobile phone. So I can't use Google Maps or Apple Maps. I've got an iPhone. Unless I'm obviously stationary and the bike is turned off, etc., etc. But we're not allowed to use it when we're riding. So that makes it a bit tricky, and you have to purchase, if you want one, a standalone GPS. Obviously that's what I did, but they are a bit pricey, and so not everybody's able to do that. Although I'm sure you can get cheaper options than the one that I'm using. But I do think it's important to know where you're going in case you get lost from the group. I think it's important that whoever organises the group makes sure that there is a map that they can follow, that others can follow, but there's also a plan, so a meeting plan at various locations for people to join the ride, which we did, an agreed route to the location that we're going, which we have, agreed places to stop along the way for a break. We didn't necessarily do that, but we felt that the breaks for the pickups were probably enough, which they were. So we had a toilet break at Budgewoi. but then no break between Budgewoi and now the ride up to Newcastle. I think also having agreed locations for lunch breaks is really important, so that everybody knows where they're going, and a bit of an agreed riding order, I guess, for want of a better word. So who's in the lead, who follows, and who is at the rear. For this ride, we had Joe leading the majority of the way, at least from the north entrance, and Mia was behind her and I was behind Mia, and so forth. And that riding order meant that we had an experienced rider at the front, an experienced rider in the middle, more or less. So Sam is, I think, 2 behind me, and then an experienced rider at the back, so that they are dispersed throughout the group. 8 seems to be a lot of people to ride with. I think it would be difficult for me to ride with a bigger group than that, because I think there probably ends up being too many times where people get stuck behind lights or behind other cars, and you potentially have to stop a lot just to allow people to catch up, and that's a little bit tricky because sometimes there's not places to stop along the route. So that's I guess my bit of a summary about group riding. All of the ladies and the one gentleman in this group are just lovely people, so it made the experience really good for everybody, I think. The other thing I liked about this ride was the varying speed limits. So we had some 50, 60, 70, 80, I think we had 100 in there somewhere as well. So that's really good skill building for me. I've said in other videos, Rosie tends to, on her speedometer, tends to not marry up to the speed that is on my Garmin, and I try to use Rosie as the accurate speed, because if I get pulled over, I don't know which one would be correct. I don't know whether it would be Rosie or the Garmin, but other people have said you're better off trusting, well, not trusting, because I think most of my research has said that the Vespas do underestimate the speed, or sorry, they say you're doing, not underestimate, they overestimate the speed, goodness. So it says I'm doing 70 but probably doing 68 on the Garmin, and that's probably, the Garmin is correct, but I'll try to stick to what Rosie said, just in case the police have a different view. So we've gone up through most of the bush areas now. We're heading back into a little bit of civilization, and at this point I absolutely have no idea where I am, other than just following along on the Garmin. Traffic wasn't too bad really coming into Newcastle. I was surprised. I thought it's quite a biggish in city. I think in peak time it would probably be a lot busier than what it was for us on this ride. But I didn't find it too difficult at all, and it made me think I can potentially do this ride by myself if I ever wanted to ride up to the AMX shop, or any other shop obviously, in Newcastle, and have a look around. I think the timing though needs to be taken into consideration. So I think we finally got up to AMX at around maybe 10:30ish, which means that was about 2.5 hours to get there. But keep in mind that we stopped a lot on the way. We stopped to pick up people, we stopped to chit chat, but we also stopped to go to the toilet and had a little break. So potentially, if it was just myself and one other person, it would not take us quite that long to get up there. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. I think maybe, what did I say, 2.5 hours? I think probably an hour and a half is probably more realistic if I was riding by myself. 1.5, 1.75 hours maybe. I thought in the last little section that we were actually heading in to Newcastle there and where we wanted to go to, but we ended up in a little bit more bushland again, so it was a little bit deceiving. And it's quite flat, you can see sort of straight ahead. There's no real big mountains around here. If I think about the bigger map, to the left further away, there are some quite big hilly areas and great for hiking and camping in, but closer to the coastline where we are, not quite as hilly. You can see on the GPS that it's very urban now. You can't see the coast, but the coast is still there. It's to our far right, I should say. And Newcastle actually has some fantastic beaches. There's one called Stockton Beach, which is got lots of sand dunes on it, and you can actually take your four-wheel drive and drive around on the sand dunes, which would be a lot of fun. And you can do tours on the sand dunes. I don't have a four-wheel drive, so I couldn't do that, but I would love to go and do some four-wheel driving on a tour with a company up there. It looks like a lot of fun. We are getting pretty close to the motorcycle shop now, AMX, where we're going to have a little bit of a look around. So thank you very much for watching this one, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.